August 2025. On the roof of the Tian Shan, a Russian mountaineer named Natalia Nagovitsyna radioed a final message from 7,000 meters up, the same remote ledge where she had fought winds colder than -20 degrees Celsius and broken her leg after summiting Pobeda Peak, the deadliest mountain in Central Asia. Natalia's quest for the snow leopard title had pushed her higher, farther, and finally somewhere almost no one comes back from. Rescue teams risked everything. Even another climber perished in the attempt. This is the climber who never came down, the true story of ambition, catastrophe, and one woman lost to the mountain. But how did Natalia's last climb become a global obsession? And why did her rescue ignite a storm that still hasn't settled? Natalia Nagovitsyna was born on August 20th, 1977, in the forests of Perm Krai, a region better known for harsh winters than for producing high-altitude climbers. Her first steps into the world of mountaineering came late by professional standards, but she made up for lost time with a single-minded drive. By her early 40s, Natalia had already stood atop Mount Elbrus, the highest point in Europe, in 2020. 2 years later, she conquered Ismoil Somoni Peak, the tallest mountain in Tajikistan, and by 2024 she had added the icy pyramid of Khan Tengri to her growing list. Each ascent brought her closer to the snow leopard title, a badge reserved for only the most determined, those who managed to summit all 5 of the former Soviet Union's 7,000-meter giants. Her ambition wasn't born out of simple thrill-seeking. In 2021, tragedy struck on the slopes of Khan Tengri. Natalia's husband Sergei suffered a fatal stroke during their expedition. She stayed by his side through the final hours, refusing to leave him behind. The loss might have ended another climber's career. For Natalia, it became a turning point. She returned to the mountains, now climbing alone, carrying Sergei's memory with every step. Friends say she spoke often of finishing the dream they had started together. Each summit was more than a personal victory. It was a promise kept. Years of training, planning, and sacrifice turned Natalia into one of Russia's most respected female mountaineers. Her sights were fixed on the last and most dangerous summit, Pobeda Peak. For her, reaching the top wasn't about glory. It was about honoring the past, testing her limits, and proving to herself, most of all, that some dreams are too important to abandon, no matter the risk. On August 12, 2025, Natalia Nagovitsyna stood on the summit of Pobeda Peak, 7,439 meters above sea level, battered by wind and ice. The hardest part was supposed to be over, but as she began her descent, just below 7,150 meters, her crampons slipped on a patch of blue ice. The fall left her with a broken leg, unable to move, exposed to the full force of a mountain known for killing even the most prepared. Temperatures plummeted below -20 degrees Celsius, and winds howled past 80 kilometers per hour, turning the ridge into a frozen gauntlet. Natalia managed to crawl into her tent, fighting pain and shock. She sent out brief satellite messages. Summit reached. Injury. Shelter set. Please send help. Storm coming. Each word carried the weight of desperation. There was no working radio, no way to call out except for the satellite device, and soon, even that fell silent. Supplies were limited. A sleeping bag, a stove, a few gas canisters, and enough food for a handful of days. The storm outside battered the tent, tearing at the fabric, while inside, Natalia rationed every calorie and every spark of hope. As hours dragged into days, her messages stopped. The cold seeped through every layer. The last known contact faded into static, leaving only the relentless wind and the impossible silence of the high Tian Shan. Rescue teams below raced to find a way up, but on the ridge above, Natalia waited, alone, injured, and nearly unreachable. The rescue operation on Pobeda Peak demanded everything from those who tried to save Natalia. On August 13th, as news of her injury spread, the Kyrgyz Emergency Ministry scrambled its best teams. Helicopters lifted off at dawn, loaded with medical kits, ropes, and hope. But as the Mi-8 climbed above 6,000 meters, the thin air choked the engines and battered the rotors. At 4,600 meters, the helicopter was forced into an emergency landing. The crash left 3 crew members with fractured limbs and concussions. Higher up, the mountain was no kinder to those on foot. Italian climber Luca Sinigaglia, driven by the same sense of duty that had brought him to the Tian Shan, set out with Gunter Sigmund to reach Natalia. The pair fought through hurricane-force winds and blinding snow, inching their way toward the ridge. By August 15th, Luca was showing signs of high-altitude cerebral edema, confusion, unsteady steps, words slurred by swelling in his brain. At 6,900 meters, he collapsed inside an ice cave, never to rise again. Gunter, exhausted and alone, had to turn back. Every hour on Pobeda demanded a price. The rescuers risked frostbite, avalanche, and their own lives for a chance, just a chance, at saving one of their own. In the end, the mountain took more than it gave, leaving behind broken bodies and the bitter knowledge that sometimes even the bravest efforts are not enough. Above 6,000 meters, the rules of rescue change. Helicopters like the Mi-8, so common in mountain emergencies, become nearly useless as the air thins. At these heights, even the most powerful rotors lose their grip. There's simply not enough oxygen for the engines to bite. On Pobeda Peak, the service ceiling for most rescue helicopters sits stubbornly around 6,000 meters. That's a hard limit, not a guideline. Pilots know it well. Push past it and the machine stops listening. The Mi-8 that crashed during Natalia's rescue attempt was already flying at the edge of its envelope. Above 6,200 meters, lift drops off so sharply that every kilogram becomes a risk. Rescue gear, fuel, even the rescuers themselves. Each extra gram means less chance of making it back down. Physics is unforgiving at 7 kilometers up. Hovering is impossible. Landing is suicide. And winching a person from a ridge in hurricane winds is out of the question. The world's best pilots have tried. None have succeeded on Pobeda. In fact, the last time anyone was pulled off the mountain by air was 70 years ago, under conditions that can't be replicated today. Drones can fly higher, but they're only eyes in the sky. They can drop supplies, maybe spot a moving tent flap, but they can't carry a person home. For a stranded climber above 7,000 meters, survival odds plummet fast. Medical experts estimate less than a 1 in 10 chance after 72 hours without descent. The cold, the altitude, and the isolation do not negotiate. When machines fail, hope has nowhere to go but down the mountain and online, where frustration and disbelief quickly take hold. Within hours of the rescue attempt stalling on Pobeda, Natalia's family released a video plea. Her son, Mikhail, appeared online, his voice trembling as he begged for help from anyone able to reach his mother. The clip ricocheted across Russian social networks, picked up by news outlets and climbing forums alike. Hashtags multiplied, each one carrying Natalia's name onto more screens. Telegram channels dissected every rumor, while strangers debated tactics and motives in comment threads that stretched for miles. In less than a day, what began as a desperate family appeal became a viral cause. Suddenly, thousands of people were watching the mountain, waiting for updates and demanding action. The story was no longer confined to the base camp, it was everywhere. On August 19, 2025, the story took an unexpected turn. Victoria Bonya, a Russian influencer with more than 9 million followers, pledged 1 million rubles, about $12,000, to fund ongoing rescue efforts. Her posts flooded Instagram and Telegram, calling out Kyrgyz authorities and demanding that the search continue. Some saw her offer as a lifeline, a way to keep hope alive when official channels had all but given up. Others accused her of chasing headlines, using tragedy to boost her own profile. The debate split the internet. Overnight, Natalia's struggle on the mountain became a national spectacle, with every decision scrutinized and every motive questioned. For a brief moment, the fate of one stranded climber became a test of compassion, pride, and the power of a single, very public promise. Pobeda Peak stands at 7,439 meters, with over 30 climbers lost since the 1930s. In August 2025, Natalia Nagovitsyna became the latest, stranded at 7,150 meters after breaking her leg. Despite multiple rescue attempts, including helicopter missions that could not pass the 6,200-meter mark and the sacrifice of Luca Sinigaglia, the mountain's conditions proved insurmountable. Drone footage confirmed her tent, but never her survival. No further messages came after August 12th. The involvement of Victoria Bonya and the viral spread of Natalia's story put rescue agencies and public opinion under intense pressure, but did not change the outcome. To this day, the exact circumstances of Natalia's final hours remain undocumented. Her story exposes the limits of both technology and human will at extreme altitudes. For the mountaineering community, her loss, and the debate it sparked, remains a stark reminder. On Victory Peak, nature sets the final terms.